I want to give you a quick bike maintenance tech tip of how to quickly install a 6-bolt rotor on a bicycle. Now you may already know this tip, but if you don't, you're going to be appreciative because this can save you quite a bit of time, especially if you're doing more than one wheel. And the tip is to simply use a drill to install the rotor bolts. Other than, of course, a drill, the main thing that you'll need to do this is a Torx head for your drill. And these you can usually find in a tip set like this one made by DeWalt that has a bunch of Torx heads and screwdriver heads. And then you'll need a hand Torx wrench like this one made by Bursman, because when we're finished installing the bolts, we're going to snug them up by hand. Or if you're taking a rotor off a bike, you want to first loosen the bolts by hand and then take them all the way out with the drill. Before putting the Torx head in your drill, just take it in your fingers and put it in one of the bolts just to make 100% sure you got the right size, because you don't want to strip these out. So the key to this is to put your clutch setting on a number that's fairly light so that you don't over tighten these. So this one goes from 1 to 20, and I found that 5 is the best setting for installing these rotor bolts. Now for your drill, if you're not sure, it's much better to start too light. So start with like a 1 or a 2, and then you can check it by hand so that you'll know the right setting for your drill. And just keep in mind that we're not fully tightening it with the drill. We're just turning them to be pretty snug, and then we'll finish it up with the hand Torx wrench. So what we want to do is get the bolts started by hand. And when you put a rotor on a bike, by the way, if you don't know this, the lettering should be facing out, and typically there'll be a direction arrow on the outside of the rotor. So again, you should be able to read the lettering from the outside. So install each bolt, turning it 2 or 3 turns just to make sure you're not cross-threading. Make sure they're going in straight. And I usually install one, and then I install one on the opposite side to get the rotor perfectly aligned, so the other ones are easier to put in. Okay, and now we're just going to take the drill and tighten each bolt, again with a fairly light clutch setting. And now we're going to take our hand wrench and tighten each of the bolts. Now if you have a torque wrench to help you tighten each one of these to the right settings, I would recommend using it, especially if you're new to this. Shimano recommends 2 to 4 Newton meters per bolt. SRAM recommends 6.2 Newton meters per bolt. That's not very tight, so you do not want to over tighten these, but again, take your hand wrench and just snug each one of the bolts, and just don't over tighten these. And the last thing that you want to do is take a clean paper towel or a rag, put a little rubbing alcohol on it, and then just wipe off the rotor, because you've got some oils from your fingers most likely on the rotor, and you want to make sure those don't get on the brake pads. So that is my quick bike tech tip of how to quickly install a 6-bolt rotor on a bicycle wheel. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do so you can see other bike tech tips along with more in-depth maintenance videos, bike reviews, and riding videos. Thanks for watching.